we will begin looking at the Ecstasy of St Teresa by Bernini.
It took from 1647 to 1652 to complete and is currently located in Santa Maria della Vittoria within the Cornaro Chapel.
Before we go into depth about the art symbolism and features, we should first appreciate that this work of art exists.
Yes. When Pope Innocent X ascended to the papacy, he shunned Bernini, who had been a favorite of the previous pope. This freed Bernini to enter the services of other patrons like the Cornaro family. If it hadn't been for Pope Innocent's dislike of Bernini's work, we might not even have the sculpture today.
The scene was inspired by a passage from St. Teresa's autobiography. In this passage, St. Teresa describes a short but beautiful angel stabbing her with a spear, which leaves her with only love for God.
Looking at the actual features of the sculpture, we see that the sculpture is constantly illuminated. This is due to a window that Bernini included just above the sculpture. This is so that the artwork has an ethereal feeling to it. There are also some gilded rays of light behind the sculpture.
The lighting isn't the only divine imagery within the artwork. We also see that St. Teresa is lying atop a cloud, clearly indicating that this is a divine vision or event. But while this is also occurring, one should notice the play box windows that are on either side of the sculpture. Those that are in the play boxes are prominent members of the Cornaro family, the patrons of this work of art. It was not uncommon for patrons or artists to place themselves within the art. It was seen as a form of prestige.
Thanks to the inclusion of these theater boxes, the sculpture takes on more of a theatrical feel rather than a divine one. It's almost as if the scene with St. Teresa's performance being put on for the Cornaros. But it is important then that the rest of the artwork. If one were to look up, they would see a fresco that Bernini also created. The central figure in the fresco is a white dove and a ring of light emanating from it. This, of course, is meant to be the Holy Spirit. The way that Bernini sets the whole scene up with the light coming from the Holy Spirit and the gilded rays behind the sculpture makes it look like the Holy Spirit is the one who is providing the divine light for the scene.
Another key part of the sculpture is the expression on St. Teresa's face.
Many have described this expression on her face as one of sexual exhaustion. In fact, the very passage that the sculpture is based on features lines that can be seen as euphemisms and give the scene a very sensual tone.
In a departure from the divine imagery and into the pure artistic skill that is on display in the sculpture, one only needs to look to the angel's wings. The whole sculpture is clearly made out of marble, but different parts of the angel have different textures to them.
The way that the angel's wings look is the most prominent of these examples. In spite of the hard nature of the marble, Bernini was able to manipulate the marble into looking like it was soft and made of actual feathers.
Finally, I believe it is important to acknowledge the greater historical context that surrounded the construction of this sculpture. By the time Bernini began construction of the sculpture, the Protestant Reformation had changed Christianity in Europe along with it. One of the main gripes that the Protestants had with the Catholic Church was that they believed that the grandeur and pomp that the Church had grown accustomed to distracted people from having a personal relationship from God. In response to this criticism, Bernini decided to use lavish styles and grand presentation to portray a very intimate scene. So in a way, this sculpture can be seen as a dig at Protestant theology.
Regardless of whether it was meant to criticize Protestant beliefs, the primary purpose was to inspire faith and awe within those that viewed it. In the end, it didn't matter whether one was Catholic or Protestant. All that mattered was were you inspired?